We are now 1 week into the NFL season. We have a lot of things to talk about on this week's episode, including Dak Prescott's new deal, Tyreek Hill getting arrested before the game, Kendrick Lamar performing at the Super Bowl, and the results and the best plays from week one of the 2024 NFL season. All of that and more on this week's episode of the Get Back Podcast. Here we go. What is going on, everybody? My name is Ashton Anthony. You click on this video and you hear my voice. That means you are now tuned in to another episode of the Get Back Podcast. This is episode 10, a milestone for your boy. Listen, may not be big, it may not be nothing, but I've learned, this week has taught me to, I like to say, capitalize your W's, right? And stop treating your wins in life as something that is just an everyday thing. Um, Quick little, reason behind that. I just feel like, this week has taught me that when we take losses in life and we don't get opportunities and stuff like that, we make it feel like the whole world is falling. We make it feel like, um, you know, nothing else matters. But when we get opportunities and when we get wins in our life, that's why I say the W's, we treat them as they're not really that big. So for me, I did this with episode 5 and going to do this with episode 10. It's a good milestone for me and I'm going to celebrate it. I also got an opportunity this past week, not a job or anything, but it was just an opportunity to attend someplace. But I won't reveal that just now. I'll reveal that later on in the coming weeks. But yeah, so that's really why I've really wanted to put a really put an exclamation point on my victories in life. But you heard the intro. We have a lot of stuff to get into. And look, this weekend I have been note taking like crazy. I wanted to enjoy the first game, like the Chiefs versus Ravens. So I didn't really take any notes like that. But this, I don't know if you can see it. It's because it's white. This is for, Eagles versus Packers. This is for NFL Week One Sunday. This is for the Rams and the Lions. So I didn't take these notes for nothing. We're going to go through these notes and we're going to just talk about week one, talk about what happened, and we are going to later in the episode give our predictions. We will have a top five segment, and that top five segment will be the best plays for from week one. So let's get right into this, and I want to kick off and talk about the big news for real that came out of week one. And this was just the storylines that came before the games even started. So week one, it started off crazy. Okay, you had Tyreek Hill, receiver for the Miami Dolphins. He was voted the number one player in the NFL by his peers, by the NFL players. He was seen, a clip got shared. I saw it off of U Stadium's account on Instagram. A clip was shared where somebody driving saw Tyreek Hill surrounded by four police officers getting arrested on the ground in handcuffs, four of them surrounding him. And then other videos will be released of Tyreek Hill getting like dragged out the car, this, that, and the third. It was also later revealed that Calais Campbell wanted to saw Tyreek Hill while he was traveling to the game as well, and wanted to help him by getting out of the car and asking what was wrong. He was put in handcuffs as well. This came out before the game, and we are going to get into that a little bit later. But Dak Prescott as well. This happened moments after. Dak Prescott, 4-year deal extension with the Dallas Cowboys, $240 million, 231, basically a fully guaranteed contract, $9 million from a full guaranteed contract, 231 million guaranteed. We're also going to get into that as well. And then Kendrick Lamar, right? This was like back to back to back. Boom, boom, boom. Kendrick Lamar performing, announced that he was performing at the Super Bowl this year in New Orleans. Biggest the what? Okay, I just had to do that. Sorry. But like I said, this all happened back to back to back, and it just really made me feel good as I was preparing, to eat, get whatever I needed to eat, and put on Red Zone. All of this happening, like popping up on my phone, it was just like, wow, football is back. And I don't mean to say like, Tyreek Hill getting arrested was anything to celebrate or anything like that, but it was just like, okay, football is back, and this is how quick the storylines come. So let's get into the Tyreek Hill thing. So, like I said, we're going to show this video of the body cam footage that was released of the police officers, and we're going to play it, and then we're going to talk about it.
Get out! Get out! Get out! What part of law don't you understand? Hey, Drew, I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting arrested. I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting out, bro. God damn, twin. When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand? I'm getting out. You understand? Not what you want.
So, in no shape, like in no possible way, should Tyreek Hill, like, this shouldn't even be a thing. Like, I don't know what Tyreek Hill did. They said he got pulled over for reckless driving, but it's the same story that we talk about whenever something like this happens with people of color and the police. Why are there this many police officers surrounding him, right? Why are they aggressive with him when he's clearly not a threat? Why is it this with it just seems like police always have to up the ante when it comes to interactions with us. And when I mean us, I mean black men, people of color, and not even black men just black men, because we've seen this year and in the past, like, black women are getting affected as well. People of color is just, it's just crazy. And to actually see a football player, right? Tyreek Hill on his way to the game, who is, he's famous. He is, everybody knows who Tyreek Hill is, except for these police officers. Whether they might care or might not, that's in the question. But to see this happen to an NFL athlete on his way to the game, it's insane. And there was also an incident where in Baltimore or in Maryland, I believe. Sorry, I don't want to get the facts wrong, but I believe it was in Maryland where a man literally got shot while he was asleep. While he was in bed, he got shot, right? And I don't want to do a full spiel on this. I don't want to do a full, like, breakdown and everything about this because it's Wednesday, right? You're watching this on Thursday. It's been since Sunday. But all I'll say is this. When you look at what has happened this past week, right? I mentioned the police shooting in Maryland, Tyreek Hill, the incident, I'm forgetting the woman's name, but the incident in Illinois, right? And the countless, many other situations. And then you look at the debate last night, and you look at what can possibly represent our country and what can possibly be the fate of our country in the next 4 years, and you're deciding not to go out and vote, I don't even know what to say. Like, this week, the past couple of months in particular have been crazy. Police across, it's been crazy across topics and issues in our country, such as police reform, women's rights, such as a bunch of other stuff. This coming election, I'm going to do my job with my platform. I'm not getting paid to do any of this. This is just me as a hobby, but it is something I take pride in. I'm doing my job to tell you to go out and vote. Register to vote. Make sure you need to do what you need to do to put your part in to at least have our country go into a better direction. I'm not going to go into, candidates and this, that, and the third. If you listen to me, you know what I'm trying to say. Go out and vote. I'm not going to go into particulars about candidates or, the election. And I'm not going to go into particular about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. I'm not going to go into particular about stuff in the debate. You know what I'm trying to say. What faces you and what faces me, if that man wins this election, it's dehumanizing. It's scary. So, like I said, I'm doing my part for a platform that I take pride in, nonprofit, nothing like that, to tell you go out and vote. And this is the thing about sports, right? In this country, sports is not an escape from reality. It's not an escape from what's going on in our country. A lot of people like to say, "Yo, keep the politics out of sports." No, keep the sports out of the politics, right? Like, this is a man that is on his way. Like I said, I don't know what he did. Like, I don't know why he was caused to pull over, but it's clearly Tyreek Hill. This is a superstar going on his way to the game to perform his job, and he's surrounded. Literally, you saw the video. He's telling them, "I just had surgery on my knee. I just had surgery on my knee." They don't care. So it comes to a point where it's a human aspect, right? And so people, the cops out there, and the people that agree with this, and this, that, and the third, it's like you have no human element to you, right? So I just like to say that I want to start off the episode providing awareness to what happened with Tyreek Hill, providing awareness to what happened with police brutality, police violence, what happened last night with the election, and what's going to happen um, this these upcoming, like, next month and a half with the election coming. I meant to say the debate last night, but you know what I'm trying to say. So go out and vote, please. If you're somebody that's like, "Oh, my vote doesn't matter," please do some research. I know it's very hard in this world that we live in. You don't know what's real, you don't know what's fake. I get it. Just please go and do some research about voting, about the election, about these candidates, about candidates past the presidential election, like candidates in your own state that can affect things, that can affect you, that can affect your community, that can affect your family. Like, it's a lot of things that need to be taken into account when we are in this state that we are in as a country going into an election that will decide the fate of the next 4 years of our country. So that's all I have to say. Let's move on to. I don't know if we should talk about Dak Prescott first, or we should go off of some of the results from the first two games of Week One. Um, let's start off with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. Like I said, I wasn't really taking notes for this game. I wanted to enjoy the NFL being back, but I, I have a good memory. So, the Kansas City Chiefs, they defeated the Baltimore Ravens 27-20. Um, Lamar, with a last ditch attempt to tie the game, had a crazy play where he threw the ball to Isaiah Likely in the end zone, and Isaiah Likely literally, like, his foot was too big that his toe touched out of bounds. If his foot wasn't big, this game would have went to overtime. But one pick right for this week, Week 1, we went 10-6 on our predictions. So But yeah, the Chiefs. Look, I think what I took away from the Chiefs is that their defense is still really, really good, and it might be even better this season. Chris Jones is a monster, right? He was wrecking that Ravens offensive line all night. Lamar had a really tough time. It made me even like feel bad for Lamar watching him scramble like that. And Xavier Worthy, rookie receiver for the Chiefs that they drafted in this year's draft, he was showing that 4.21 speed. I put that on my Twitter, like his end around, and he just zoom past everybody on defense. And when he gets developed, and when he's developing into being a down the threat, down the field deep threat for the Chiefs, it's going to be really scary. This is why I picked the Chiefs to go to be the first team to three-peat. I just don't really think there's anybody that could stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And this wasn't even a tremendous game. Like, this was week one. They scored 27 points, right? They were still like in the game with the Baltimore Ravens. But let's switch to Baltimore. And I just like to get some stuff off about the Ravens. I don't understand how you have a two-time MVP and you give him a box of scraps. And this is no disrespect to the actual players, the actual wide receivers of the Baltimore Ravens. I'm just talking about it on a talent level. I do not understand why you surround your two-time league MVP with Zay Flowers and guys that are not capable of performing at a high or good level for NFL receivers. Like, you have Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, who's coming off of an injury. They signed Rashad Bateman to a 1 year, like $5 million deal, I think, or $5 million extension. Nelson Aguilar. Like, why is Nelson Aguilar still getting minutes? Like, I don't mean to sound like NBA, like in NBA terms, but why is he still getting valuable time? Like, I just think about what you think of when I just said Nelson Aguilar in 2024. Baltimore Ravens, I don't know what it is. His whole career, this is year 7 for Lamar Jackson, and it's been the same. Like, his first MVP, his best receiver was Willie Snead, and now it's just like, dude, we got to get this man some threats. There's some wide receiver threats. We have to. Um, but yeah, I think this game was great. Uh, it was really a it was a good opening game. I'm not in panic mode about Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, like people online have been, but I will say the misses that Lamar missed in the end zone, the one to Zay Flowers was going viral and stuff like that. You know, this is something I'm not saying this right now. It's only 1 week, but as somebody who supports Lamar and looks at people who support Lamar, we have to start raising our expectations for Lamar Jackson. And when you raise your expectations for Lamar Jackson and for those type of QBs, small plays like that are going to get criticized more because the great quarterbacks capitalize on they very rarely make those opportunities. And so we're looking at Lamar Jackson, and like I said last week, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you beat the Chiefs, you got to beat them in the playoffs. If you lose to the Chiefs, well, you can't beat Patrick Mahomes, right? Lamar has to prove that he can beat Patrick Mahomes. Lamar has to prove that he is one of these great quarterbacks, right? Like I said, two-time MVP. Lamar is in an elite class of quarterbacks. When you look at, there's only three quarterbacks with multiple MVPs: Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, we don't know how much he has left, and we'll get to that game later on. But yeah, like, for me personally, and like I said, it's week one. I'm not gonna overreact or anything, but to monitor over this season, we have to look at the performance of Lamar Jackson a little bit more closely, right? We want to say, like, I remember the hot takes people were saying Patrick Mahomes is the second, I mean, Lamar Jackson is the second best quarterback behind Patrick Mahomes. All right, well, right, when we criticize Aaron Rodgers in his prime, when he was winning these MVPs, but he was falling short in the playoffs, we called him a choker, right? So if the same energy is reciprocated to Lamar, and that same energy is reciprocated to Lamar, people are still, on edge. Like, yo, chill, just chill. Like, we just have to raise our expectations for Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying that they're going to miss the playoffs. I'm not saying that, you know, their hopes of winning the Super Bowl are completely dead. No, I'm not saying that at all. But over time in this season, let's monitor the play of Lamar Jackson a little bit more. Moving on to moving on to Friday's game this past week. The Green Bay Packers took on the Philadelphia Eagles in Brazil. The Eagles defeated the Packers 34 to 29, and this was probably my best game, my most one of, I'm gonna say, top three uh best games I watched this weekend. Yeah, I don't know why that took me so long to get out. But yeah, this was a really great game. It was better than the Thursday night game between the Chiefs and the Ravens. And with the conditions that these players were playing in, and to still put up a great performance um, on both teams, just absolutely perfect. So straight off the bat, the Brazil field was absolutely garbage, and this is not disrespect to Brazil because that field is used for football, not football, soccer, as we say in America. And this is really on the NFL because to me, this just seemed like a money grab for the NFL. You want to bring a game to Brazil, and if you want to do that, and if you want to have two, like I said, I put out a tweet before the game started. I'm talking about the Chiefs Ravens game on Thursday. The NFL does this every year. Your predictions for MVP, um, Offensive Player of the Year, etc. And for the NFC champion, I put the Philadelphia Eagles, but my dark horse is the Green Bay Packers. So these are two teams that I think will. And we'll go to why I kind of feel I changed that tune on the Green Bay Packers later in the segment. But, these are two teams going into the season. Okay, they are going to do something this season, if you know what I mean, right? And if you want to send these teams and these players to Brazil, and if you want to bring all this revenue, get all this money, at least have these players play on a safe, a safe turf, a safe field. And throughout the game, players were slipping on this field. Saquon Barkley on his first carry in the game slipped and got tackled behind the line of scrimmage. So, excuse me. It was a slight, I just really feel like if they're going to do this again, like when the NFL sends teams to Germany, they send them to Europe. I think where did they London. I don't know why I don't know why I was saying Paris, but they sent them to London. They had a game in Germany. Um, those fields are good. So I don't know. I just didn't really like the players. I was fearing for their safety. One of the players got hurt. As far as Jordan Love got injured. I don't know if this was due to the turf or due to the field or how he got tackled. But, you know, I was still worried for the player's safety in this game. But on the bright side, I do like the idea of having a primetime game on a Friday night. I love that. Growing up, we've watched, whether it was in person, whether it was college, like you watch games on Friday night. And the NFL Friday Night Lights, like I love that. I feel like that will be a very great idea if the NFL can incorporate. It doesn't even have to be like out of the country, right? It could just be a game on Friday night and the home team plays in their stadium. Like I love that idea. Do like Friday Night Lights, something like that. Like I love that idea. So I like that the NFL incorporated that this season, and I would love if they could incorporate that. Maybe do a Friday Night Lights game, or do it. Every week. I don't know if they could do it every week, but do it like twice in a year or something like that. Like I love that concept. But let's get into the actual game itself. Like I said, the Eagles defeated the Packers 34-29. The Packers really lost this game. I'm gonna start off with the Packers because I don't like the Eagles, but the Packers really lost this game, and this is fact. Like they could not capitalize early. Jalen Hurts started off the game with two turnovers, one interception to former Giant Xavier McKinney, and a fumble, which really wasn't his fault. It was kind of miscommunication with him and center that is taking the place of Jason Kelsey, Cam Jurgens. It was miscommunication, but the Packers were in the red zone twice off of those turnovers, and they had to settle for field goals on both drives. When you have an opportunity like that, you have to come away with at least one touchdown, at least one. The Brazil field on one of those drives, I don't know if it was off the McKinney interception or off the fumble, but one of those drives, Christian Watson slipped in the end zone, and that could have been a touchdown for them as well. But you have to capitalize there, and not capitalizing early can come around and bite you later in the game. Let's talk about We talked about how the Packers lost this game. Let's talk about how the Eagles won this game, and that is newly signed Eagle, former New York Giant Saquon Barkley with a hat trick, 3 total touchdowns, 24 carries, 109 rushing yards, 132 total yards, and like I said, 3 total touchdowns with a great receiving touchdown. I think that was the first touchdown to put the Eagles on the board. And also, you got to look at A.J. Brown and his matchup versus Jair Alexander. 5 receptions for 119 yards and a 67-yard touchdown. You know, and what's scary about this, and this is what A.J. Brown said, he was just like, I'm just looking for this offense to get better because this was our first game coming out of the season. On a bad field, the Eagles dropped 34 points. Their first game of the season. Like, they're not going to drop 34 points each and every week, but they can obviously get better. The only way is up for the Eagles. Um, you also had rookie rookie tandem in the secondary. Quinyon Mitchell doing a great job preventing a touchdown from Christian Watson on the first Packers drive, and then Reed Blankership, first NFL pick, and he had like great ball control. Like it was a little bit of like a Julian Edelman type ball control, like on that catch when he was going down. That catch in the Super Bowl versus the Falcons, he kind of had a great ball control on that, securing that ball going down to the ground, and he rushed to the end zone and hit the Quan dance in honor of the late Rich Homie Quan. Rest in peace. And I also wanted to provide a little bit of uh, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but Devontae Smith, right? Philadelphia Eagles receiver. He's looked at as their wide receiver number 2. He was a former Heisman in the 2020, I want to say 2021 season. 2020, 2020, I think it was 2020. He got drafted by the Eagles in that draft after. Um, he is going to be one of these receivers. Like I said, I don't know if I like Devontae Smith coming out of college, coming out of Alabama. He was a Heisman receiver for a win. He was a receiver that won the Heisman. Like, he's good. I don't know if he'll ever be like a top 5 receiver, but like a CD or a Jettas or like a one of these great receivers. But this dude is going to be reliable. He continues to be reliable, and he's going to be one of these receivers in 10 years. When we see he's still playing, he's going to be some team's wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 or something, still continuing to come up big when they need him. Like a Tyler Lockett, like a Larry Fitzgerald late in his career. You know, and I say this because coming out of the draft, and I remember this was one of my concerns for him was his size. Right, he was slender, and his body is still holding up well. I get it; it's only 3 seasons. He's going into his third season this year, but this dude rarely drops the ball, rarely gets hurt, and he comes up big. Like this dude, Devontae Smith, is going to be very reliable. Like I said, 10 years, do not be surprised if you see him as some teams wide receiver 3 when he's like 33, 34 years old, still making, like, still coming up big, right? So, um, I really did love this game. Um, Also, I got to give some, we talk about Devontae Smith. Even though the Packers lost this game, I have to give some props to Jaden Reed. 4 receptions, 171 total yards, 2 touchdowns. This dude was tearing that Eagles defense up. I'ma just tell you, he was tearing them up. And like I said, it was just bad for the Packers that they couldn't capitalize early. But off with the help of Jaden Reed, the Packers might have won this game if they capitalized early on their first 2 red zone trips. Like I said, 4 receptions, 171 total yards, 2 total touchdowns. This man was a beast. But yeah, on to NFL Sunday. We talked about the stuff that happened. First of all, let's switch to, like I said, because we did, we covered music and entertainment and stuff, and let's talk about Kendrick Lamar in the Super Bowl halftime performance. It's been a while since we talked about the beef, and I'm not even going to mention that, right? Because the what? Okay, this will be one of the greatest halftime performances in Super Bowl history, right? Kendrick Lamar, and what makes me most excited about this, Kendrick Lamar is obviously my favorite rapper, if you couldn't tell, but we're getting a new album for Kendrick Lamar. I don't think Kendrick Lamar is going to come on that stage and just perform Not Like Us and a bunch of his old tracks like We Gonna Be Alright and, you know, a whole bunch of his older tracks, Good Kid, Mad City Days and stuff. I think we are getting a new album. I know people said it with Rihanna, but Kendrick Lamar is a little bit different, being that he has dropped more. Even though he took like a 5 year break, he still has dropped. At least he's dropped the album with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Like, I'm just pumped. So I just wanted to say that. But Dak, his new contract, like I said, 4 years, 240 million, almost a fully guaranteed contract with 231 million guaranteed. Listen, Dallas put a beating on the Browns. That was a pick that I missed. I thought the Browns would win, but I also didn't expect the Cowboys to get a deal done. And yeah, 33-17, Cowboys won. Dak Prescott tore them boys up, but this is the highest paid contract in the NFL. $60 million a year. I mean, look, this is America's team, right? The expectations have already been raised so much. They've already been raised. The ceiling just got higher. The Cowboys need to be in the Super Bowl this year. This year or next year, over the course of this contract, Dak Prescott, and if I'm Jerry Jones, I just gave him this huge contract. I need to see Dak Prescott lead my team to a Super Bowl. I'm not even going to say Super Bowl win, just a Super Bowl, right? This is what you're paying him to do. You're not paying him to take you to the playoffs like he's always done and lose and not even get to the NFC Championship. You're not paying him to do that. You are paying him to win the Dallas Cowboys franchise a sixth Lombardi trophy. Point blank, end of story. The Cowboys look great. The defense tore Deshaun Watson up. You know, Dak, like I said, was doing great. The running game looked all right. The Browns defense didn't have a great showing. The Cowboys always do this though. They come out the gate really, really hot. Later in the season, like Stephen A. Smith always says, they get a little, the light gets bright, they tend to fold. So, you know, but outside of the Dallas Cowboys, I'm glad Dak got paid his money. Him still being able to finesse, is great. He's like him and Kirk Cousins have been able to get these contracts and still be playing. So, like I said, congrats, Dak Prescott. We are back. We got kind of have some lightning issues, but we will fix that next week. But on to week one, NFL Sunday. Like I said, we had some great storylines. And to start off, for the new kickoff rule, just wanted to point this out, 4 total returns out of 8 kickoffs to start, right? We also had a kickoff return for a touchdown in the Arizona Buffalo game. Rashid Shaheed, receiver for the New Orleans Saints, was the first touchdown on NFL Sunday in week one. And let's go over some of these games, right? Miami beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 20-17 off a game-winning field goal. Tyreek Hill, 80-yard touchdown to respond to the police officers that mistreated him on his way to the game. Number 1 draft pick Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears came back and defeated the Tennessee Titans, 24-17. Caleb Williams finished the game with just under 100 passing yards, right? 95 passing yards for Caleb Williams in his rookie debut. The Patriots upset the Cincinnati Bengals, right? They upset the Cincinnati Bengals 16-10. I don't know what's up with Cincinnati and not performing well in week one, but they always seem to lose in week one. The Cardinals did not do as I predicted, pull off the upset on the Buffalo Bills. They started off the game 17-3 against Buffalo. Buffalo came back and won the game 34-28. In division matchup for the AFC South, the Houston Texans going to Indianapolis to take on the Indianapolis Colts. They defeated the Colts 29-27 and was arguably the best game of the weekend. This game featured just impressive showings from both C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson in a play that blew my mind. We will get to that in our top 5 plays. That's a spoiler. Top 5 plays this week in week one. The Minnesota Vikings destroyed the New York Giants. Not really in terms of score, but 28-6. The Giants just couldn't get anything done. Sam Darnold showed that he still has something to prove in the NFL. Vikings defeat the Giants 28-6. The New Orleans Saints. We want to talk about destruction, destroying your opponent. The Saints defeated the Panthers 47-10 in New Orleans. Bryce Young threw an interception on his first pass of the game. Things are not looking so good for Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers this season. The New Orleans Saints, on the other hand, they took care of business. The Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Atlanta Falcons in a game I predicted wrong. T.J. Watt and the Steelers defense did a great job against Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons offense. It was a good defensive game. The offenses couldn't really get a lot of things going on both sides, but the Steelers pulled it out 18-10. The Los Angeles Chargers defeated the Raiders in Jim Harbaugh's debut as Chargers head coach, and also Antonio Pierce's, he filled in his interim last season, but he now has the job, and so this was his first game. Chargers beat the Raiders 22-10. The Broncos lose to the Seattle Seahawks in a close game, 26-20. We already talked about the Dallas Cowboys stomping the Cleveland Browns 33-17. The Bucks did kind of the same to Washington. The Washington Commanders got some scores in late, but the Bucks and Baker Mayfield did a great job against the Commanders, 37-20. And then Sunday Night Football, the Rams and the Detroit Lions. This was Matthew Stafford's second time returning to Detroit. This was a rematch between the two from last year's wild card round, where the Rams lost to the Lions. The Lions defeated the Rams 24-23. They were doing the Lions. I kind of like the Lions crowd because they were booing Matthew Stafford, but the cameras were panned onto them and they were smiling. So it was kind of like competitive booing. Like, we still love you, Matthew Stafford, but you're going against our team now. So I like that. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Before we get into the game, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a crazy like spin move on a stiff arm, and this game was really a tough defensive battle in the first half. Jahmyr Gibbs scored the first touchdown for the Lions, the first touchdown of the game at the like close to the 2 minute warning, and then Stafford responded with an end zone interception right before halftime to Kirby Joseph. Jamison Williams, J-Mo, had a great touchdown, 52-yard touchdown over newly signed former Bills cornerback Tre'Davious White. Puka Nacua, sorry to fantasy owners that own Puka Nacua, he left the game in the first half due to a knee injury. He is placed on IR and will miss the next 4 games at least. And then Tyler Johnson, former Buccaneer, had a 63-yard play where he had a ton of yards after the catch, for those that don't know. And then Cooper Kupp also had a big game. Cooper Kupp, 14 receptions, 110 yards. Jamison Williams, Cooper Kupp also had a touchdown. I'm sorry. Jamison Williams, 5 receptions, 121 yards, a touchdown. And then Tyler Johnson, 5 receptions, 79 yards. You also had David Montgomery, who came up big for the Lions as they went to overtime in this game. I forgot to mention that. But, like I said, the Lions defeated the Rams 26-20. A lot of tough runs from David Montgomery in that game, and the Lions will go on. He will score the game-sealing touchdown in overtime. So let's go to some topics. I don't know. I'm looking at my docket here, and I don't know which one to go first. But this is one I kind of want to touch on. As somebody who was a Giants fan, my love for the team has I've distanced myself. It's just really comedic to see the Giants continue to perform the way they've done. And that made me ask the question because the 2 worst performances from teams in Week 1 were from the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants. Now, that made me answer, and this is a topic that I've put on here, a question. Who is worse? Who is the worst team? Not even just the worst team. Not even just the worst team. So this made me ask myself, and I put it on my docket. This is the next segment we're going to get into. Who's worse, right? What's the worst team? Not even just the worst team. What's the worst franchise? The Giants or the Panthers? Sit with that. I know I have a lot of Giants fans on my part of my followers and stuff. But the reason why I say the Giants is because, at least for the Carolina Panthers, nobody was really expecting anything going into really since Cam Newton stopped being Cam Newton and he had that injury and just wasn't himself anymore. The Carolina Panthers haven't been the same, right, since 2015. So year in and year out, the Carolina Panthers and their fans do not expect great results, right? Obviously, every team's goal is to win a Super Bowl, but when you're being real with yourself, Carolina, you know what I'm trying to say. Carolina just doesn't really expect. The fans don't really expect much. But for the Giants, For the past couple of years, they've continued to pour into resources on rosters that they have false hope in. Everybody around them doesn't see the hope that they have, but they think that they struck gold with that roster. And this roster that they have this year, Daniel Jones has the third highest cap hit in the NFL this year. They traded for a premier edge rusher. Brian Burns gave him $30 million this year, per year. They have one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL in Dexter Lawrence. They drafted Malik Neighbors, one of the best rookie receivers, the best rookie prospects, arguably the best rookie prospect in that draft. And yet they opened up week one with their 100-year anniversaries with those ugly uniforms and only scored 6 points. Listen to this stat. This has been going around. Since Daniel Jones signed his contract, 4-year deal, $160 million, $81 million guaranteed. Since he signed that deal, Daniel Jones has thrown more pick sixes than he has touchdowns. Let's just take a moment for that. And yet, the New York Giants continued, Joe Shane, Brian Dable, these guys have continued to double down on this quarterback, on this team, on this roster. If I told you, hey, this QB, regardless of his play, right? I'm not even going to tell you like what his stat line or anything. This quarterback has the third highest cap hit in the league. They traded for a top premier edge rusher, gave him near or top of the market money for edge rushers. They have one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, arguably the best defensive tackle in the NFL. His only other competition is Chris Jones, right? And then they passed on 3 quarterbacks in the draft to draft Malik Neighbors, one of the best, arguably the best receiver in this past year's draft class. How would you expect them, that team that I described to you, how would you, also they won a playoff game in 2022, right? They won a playoff game in 2022 and got to the divisional round. If I told you all of that, what would your expectations be for that team going into the season? It ain't scoring 6 points in a full 60 minutes of football. I'm telling you that right now. That's not the expectations. And the fact that the Giants have come out and lost to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold started the game 10 for 10 for 136 yards and a touchdown against the Giants, against a front four that has Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and Kayvon Thibodeau. 10 for 10. This is Sam Darnold we're talking about here. Sam Darnold, journeyman, a bust of the second draft pick in his draft, or the third draft pick in his draft to the New York Jets. He's been to, this is his third team now. No, his fourth team. His fourth team, went from New York to Carolina to San Francisco to Minnesota. And he cooked the Giants defense like it was preseason, like it was easy. The New York Giants are an embarrassment of a franchise. This is a franchise that has won 4 Super Bowls. They have gone each decade winning a Super Bowl trophy, winning a Super Bowl in each decade. And you paid a quarterback $40+ million, right? For him to not even look like a serviceable quarterback in this league. Like, let's be honest. Daniel Jones, when you give $40 million, that range, he's in the Kyler Murray range. He's in the Kirk Cousins range. He's in the Derek Carr range, right? Before Dak got paid, he was in like the Dak range, right? Guys that are top 15 quarterbacks. Yes, you pay them off of what they will do for you, but that like I love it, right? Giants fans were saying, "Oh, well, that's the market for quarterbacks." No, that's the market for good, serviceable quarterbacks, right? 50 plus $1 million, those are the markets for franchise quarterbacks, right? $40 million, the Geno Smiths, the Derek Carrs, the Kirk Cousins, right? This is the market for bridge like guys that will be serviceable, will be good, right? The Jared Goffs before he got his contract reworked, and Daniel Jones doesn't even look like the best backup in the league. Like when I'm looking at Tyrod Taylor, who and Jacoby Brissett, who are two of the best backups. Gardner Minshew, even though he's starting, but most of his career, Gardner Minshew has been a backup. And I compare their play to Daniel Jones. They look better than Daniel Jones. This man is getting paid $43 million. Baker Mayfield, who just got paid, right? He didn't get paid $40 million, right? I forgot how much he got paid, but it wasn't close to $40 million. Looks way better. Just destroyed the Washington Commanders, 37 points. And Daniel Jones makes more than all these quarterbacks I've listed, and he hit. Daniel Jones threw the ball 42 times in this game. 42 times in this game. For 186 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1 pick six. The Giants are an embarrassment. They're an embarrassment. And you had guys like Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, right? Looking at you. And I get it. Malik Neighbors is great. But this dude not getting the ball. You threw the ball 42 times and only targeted him 8. You only targeted Malik Neighbors 8 times, throwing the ball 42 times. I'm going to just get upset. Let's move on. My top 5 plays from week 1, right? Number 5, we're just gonna get straight into it. Number 5, we're gonna go to Tampa Bay. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Evans is still a very, very good receiver. Look at this catch, this touchdown. He caught a touchdown in this game against the Washington Commanders. Look at the adjustment there by Mike Evans. Just like great, being able to take his arm and swipe. He's going to get 1,000 yards again. Mike Evans has never had a season below 1,000 receiving yards, and this play was really great. Number 4, though, it's going to be the first kickoff return for the NFL season. This came in the Arizona Cardinals Buffalo Bills game, where DJ Dallas, right, the first player to score a touchdown under the new rules, right, from the 4-yard line, right? So this was a 96-yard kickoff return. Love that for him. Cardinals would lose this game, though, but very great effort for him. So number 3, this is kind of tough, but we are going to go to Miami. Tyreek Hill, 80-yard touchdown in response to him getting arrested. He hits one of the coldest celebrations I've ever seen with context included. 80-yard touchdown from Tua Tagovailoa. Tyreek Hill goes into the end zone and hits the handcuff celebration and gets taken out of the end zone. Love that. Number 2, though. Number 2, this was A.J. Brown. For the Philadelphia Eagles, 67-yard, and I might have a little bit of bias because I really enjoyed this game, but just watching this live was crazy. I did not expect this game to be like a play of this stature to come from this game. And then number 1, right? This is one of the damnedest throws I've ever seen. Let's go to Indianapolis versus Houston. Anthony Richardson takes the snap. He slips, okay? and flicks his wrist 60 yards down the field. And one, like I said, one of the damnedest throws I've ever seen. One of the damnedest throws I have ever seen. Early in the game, the first touchdown of the game. Really great performance from Anthony Richardson. And man, listen, this was a great week. It was a good first week, I'll say that, in my opinion. This was a really great first week. So, that's what we have, our top five segment this week. And let's close out the show with our week two predictions. Here we go. So tomorrow or today, which you're watching this tonight, the Buffalo Bills go to Miami to take on the Miami Dolphins. Miami will be wearing their throwback uniforms. I'm going to pick the Dolphins just because the Bills starting off slow versus the Arizona Cardinals did kind of scare me. Like I said last week, I'm still going to stand by this. Buffalo has a very young team taking over for veterans, and Josh Allen is going to have to put this team on his back. I think Miami starts off the season off hot. Even though they were in a close game versus Jacksonville, I think Tyreek Hill is going to get going. He's going to take advantage of that young secondary. And I think the Dolphins pull away from this game. Rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire. 49ers versus Vikings. Oh, I'm sorry. We have to get to Monday Night Football. I absolutely forgot about Monday Night Football. Rewind. Monday Night Football. Jets versus 49ers. The 49ers defeated the Jets 32-19. The 49ers entered this game without Christian McCaffrey. He's also going to be out. It's very likely he's out for week two, which was the game we were about to get into. This was Aaron Rodgers' first game back from his injury that he suffered, his Achilles injury that he suffered Monday Night Football last year versus the Bills, where he got injured on the first drive for the Jets. Brees Hall fumbled on the second drive, first play of the second drive, responded with a touchdown, and Aaron Rodgers was looking good. Going, start off the Jets' offense was looking good. Brees Hall, like I said, responded with a touchdown with that fumble. Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers was throwing some pretty nice balls to Garrett Wilson. They were having a good connection. But Debo, the 49ers responded with a jet sweep to put the Niners up 13-7. Jordan Mason, who was an undrafted rookie 2 years ago, was filling in for the 49ers. He was filling in well. Jordan Mason, 28 carries, 147 yards, one touchdown. And yeah, the 49ers were just doing anything they could to keep the ball away from Aaron Rodgers. Another thing with the Jets, they pulled, I don't know if anybody caught this, they pulled Sauce Gardner right before the first 5 plays before the 2-minute warning, and then 2 plays after that. So 7 plays, not Garrett, Sauce Gardner was off the field, right? And it really could have cost him because not Brandon, sorry, my tongue is getting twisted. Brock Purdy delivered a great ball in the end zone, like a perfect ball in the end zone to Ayuk for a diving catch, and Ayuk just dropped it, but he really should have pulled it in. Um, and yeah, the Jets just had this game get away from them. They couldn't, after the first 2 drives, they couldn't get anything going on offense. Um, the Manning cast, this was the return of the Manning cast. If you didn't know what the Manning cast is, basically brothers Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, two of the greatest, some of the greatest QBs we have ever seen, both two-time Super Bowl winners. They sit down and watch the game, and they're joined by celebrities. They have Bill Belichick on, Adam Sandler, Chris Jones from the Chiefs on, and they just dissect what they're looking at, and it's really, really great. I like it better. I watched the main broadcast going up to halftime, and then after halftime, I watched the Manning cast, and they're Peyton and Eli are genuinely hilarious. But yeah, the 49ers, they opened this is another thing. Open halftime, keeping the ball away from Aaron Rodgers. 11 plays, 70 yards in 7 minutes. Aaron Rodgers threw an interception. He finished the game Like I said, he started off hot, but they pulled him. He got off the field late in the game because they didn't want to suffer injury. They put Tyrod Taylor in the Jets backup, and Rodgers finished the game 13 for 21, 167 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. I don't think the sky is falling for the New York Jets as people may like, put this out to be. They are facing the defending NFC champions in the Super Bowl. Arguably, like the second, they're the second best team in the NFL with the 49ers. But people were expecting the Aaron Rodgers to take this team to the Super Bowl, and we do have to slow down for a bit. This was his first game after not playing for a full year. Like, this was literally a full year since he played a snap of NFL football. He played some in the preseason, but I don't think he played in the preseason actually. But you know, and he's an old quarterback, like he's 40 something. So I think people have to pump the brakes on the New York Jets a little bit. I'm not saying they're going to make the Super Bowl. I think people need to pump the brakes on that, but people also need to pump the brakes on the Jets, like not making the playoffs or anything, or not competing for the playoffs. I think they will be in the playoff hunt in the wild card coming in December and early January. So, but let's go back to our NFL picks. Um, we were talking about the Vikings and the 49ers game. Look, no CMC, no problem for the 49ers. I think the 49ers win this game. Sam Darnold, yes, Sam Darnold, you beat up on the Giants. You looked great. You still show that you have something to offer in this league as a bridge quarterback, but this is the 49ers. I'm going to take the 49ers to win this game. Seahawks versus Patriots. Another team in the Patriots that are coming off of a good, upset. Vikings not coming off an upset, but they're coming off of an upset. They're feeling good, coming off a week one victory, but they're going up against a much better team to me, much better constructed team to me in the Seattle Seahawks. I'm taking the Seahawks to win this game. Giants versus Commanders. Anything with the Giants and the Commanders just depresses me. I'm going to be honest. Um, I don't know. I'm going to take the Commanders to win this game somehow. Daniel Jones just looks horrible. The Giants have a much better team than the Commanders. Like I said, I mentioned Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, right? Malik Neighbors, right? They have a lot of pieces. They have a better team, but Daniel Jones just ruins all of that to me with his play. I'm going to pick the Commanders in this game. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire. We're going to get through these picks. Chargers at Panthers. Give me the Chargers. I think Jim Harbaugh has instilled from this game running the football. J.K. Dobbins, they run that man a lot. This game versus the Raiders. The Carolina Panthers are arguably, like with the Giants, the worst team in football. I think the Chargers instill that. Let J.K. Dobbins and take the pressure off of Justin Herbert. This game, I think they're going to run the ball. I'm taking the Chargers. Saints at Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are going to come off of a very. They're going to build off that momentum that they got, and I think they're going to take care of the Saints pretty easily. Derek Carr was beating up on the Panthers, but this is where we see Derek Carr revert to Derek Carr that we saw last week. So, Colts at the Packers. Jordan Love is out. He's going to be out 3 to 6 weeks. The Colts are a very, very good team. They almost could have had a shot to beat the Houston Texans. No Jordan Love. Malik Willis will be starting. I'm going to take the Colts in this game. Browns at Jaguars. Deshaun Watson, his name is in the news again. We're not going to get too much into that, okay? But that's sick, man. I'm not picking the Cleveland Browns for a single game this season. I don't care. I will not pick the Browns. Week one was the only chance they had because I thought Dallas and Dak, there was some stuff brewing, and I fell into the trap. I'm not picking Cleveland for another game. I read some stuff that came out of that report. Deshaun Watson's under investigation for another incident. We're not going to talk about it, but I'm not picking Cleveland again this whole season. Mark me to that. I don't care if I get it wrong. I'm not picking them again. So give me the Jaguars in this game. Jets at Titans. I don't know, man, because it's like I don't know. I think the Jets could bounce back for this game, but the Titans were really doing a really great job versus the Bears and versus Caleb Williams, a guy who is really, really mobile, and they were doing a great job shutting that down. You know what? Give me the Titans in this game. Give me the whole team with these close matchups. I always go for the home team. Next, we got let's pick it up rapid fire. Buccaneers versus Lions. Give me the Lions. They had a great showing week one. Buccaneers are good, but I don't think they're as good as a team versus the Lions. This is also a rematch from the divisional round in the NFC last year, Lions versus Bucks, where the Lions defeated that. So, next game, Ravens versus Raiders. Come on, give me the Ravens at home versus the Raiders. That's easy. Our 4 o'clock games, Rams versus Cardinals. The Rams, even though in a loss, they looked very, very good versus the Lions. So I'm going to take the Rams here, even though Arizona's at home. Bengals versus the Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs. I think the Bengals will continue to start out slow this year. Steelers versus Broncos. Steelers versus Broncos. Ah, this is tough. This is tough. This is tough. You know what? I'm rolling with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm rolling with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm supporting my Buckeye, Justin Fields. He will be starting again this week, so I'm giving me the Steelers. I think the Steelers start off 2-0. Sunday night football. Here we go. Bears travel to Houston to take on the Texans. I think this will be a much better game for Caleb Williams, but I still think the Bears fall. Even though they start off the game, starting off the NFL season 1-0, I think the Bears fall short in this game. I got the Houston Texans. I think this will be a close game, though. And then the Atlanta Falcons versus the Philadelphia Eagles Monday Night Football. I didn't like how Kirk Cousins looked coming off of his injury. I don't know if he's cooked or not, but, give me the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I said, we started off the season with our picks, 10-6, a winning record. I think we will finish week 2 with a better record for us. I really do think that. So yeah, let's see how these picks develop. Let's see how these picks develop over the weekend. But yeah, we got football tonight. I hope you guys enjoy Thursday night football with the Bills taking on the Dolphins tonight. Thursday night football, and as always, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the